Over the course of the past few weeks, I've been attempting to unlock every single trophy in every Mafia game in honor of Mafia the Old Country's release on August 8th, first with Mafia Definitive Edition, and then of course the GOAT Mafia II, and now it's time to complete the trilogy and earn every trophy in Mafia 3. Well, kind of. Allow me to explain. I loved the Mafia games growing up, so when Mafia 3 released in 2016, I made sure to play it as soon as I could get my hands on it, and over the course of the next 4 years, I played the game and all of the DLCs religiously, eventually amassing over 185 hours and earning all but 4 trophies, all of those coming in the base game including Can't Trust a Rat for killing 15 racket informants, No Loose Ends for killing all of the racket bosses, the new boss for flipping 16 racket bosses, and of course the Platinum. And after the Definitive Edition released, I wanted to go for the Platinum and complete the trilogy, and I was able to get the trophy Can't Trust a Rat for killing 15 racket informants with ease. And on this very same run, I attempted to kill all racket bosses. However, once doing this, the trophy never popped. So I attempted another run and again killed all racket bosses, and the trophy still didn't pop. After another failed attempt, I did some research and I learned about all the terrible bugs and glitches that prevented a majority of the trophies in this game from popping. It turns out that with the release of Mafia 3 Definitive Edition, and specifically the 1.12 patch, came a lot of problems for trophy hunters, and all of these trophies on the screen right now, which were once relatively simple to obtain, were now quite difficult to unlock. Thankfully, I had earned all but 2 of these trophies before the patch, the new boss and No Loose Ends, but the road to the Platinum would still be a long one. These 2 trophies would have to come in a minimum of 2 different playthroughs, and I say minimum because with patch 1.12 came a lot of crashes, and if the game crashed, all progress made in your game would be reset, and I mean your game would be saved at the point in which the game crashed. However, the game's internal stat tracker would be reset. The stats would also restart if you closed the application, which means I would have to play through this entire game in one sitting twice without closing the application or without the game crashing. And back in 2022, I attempted to go for these trophies in one run, and about 7 hours in, after killing 12 of the 18 racket bosses, my game crashed and all progress was lost. After that, I deleted the game and vowed to never return as I felt all hope was lost. And I mean, I did have the disc version, which I could have hypothetically downgraded to an earlier pre-glitch patch, but I simply didn't feel like doing all the work just to play this game all the way through 2 more times. But after hearing about the new Mafia game's release and 100%ing the other 2 once again, I decided that this would be the perfect time to go back and attempt to unlock the 2 glitch trophies I never thought I'd earn. So without further ado, let's get into it. I decided that my first run would be dedicated to killing all racket bosses and earning the No Loose Ends trophy. But before that, I decided that instead of playing the original disc version, that I would try my luck on the digital definitive version on the PS5. And a lot of people recommend playing this game offline to lessen the chances of crashes, but I decided to take the risk and remain online. I also didn't download any of the DLCs, as those also are reported to cause crashes. Now that everything was in order, it was time to begin the run. Unlike most of my Platinum videos, I won't be going too in depth in this story as I'm only attempting to unlock 2 trophies, but I'll make sure everything makes sense. Just stick with me. In Mafia 3, you play as Lincoln Clay, a Vietnam War veteran returning to New Bordeaux, or New Orleans, in 1968. Back home, his family was the Black Mob, led by Sammy Robinson, a man who took Lincoln in as a child and raised him like his son. However, the Black Mob, run by Robinson, was in big trouble. It turns out that they're in serious debt to Sal Marcano, the powerful leader of the Italian Mafia who dominates New Bordeaux's criminal world. To help pay off his debt, Lincoln is asked to join a dangerous robbery targeting the Federal Reserve. He teams up with Ellis Robinson, his adopted brother and loyal enforcer, and Danny Burke, the son of Thomas Burke, the leader of the Irish mob in New Bordeaux. The robbery is risky from the start. During the heist, the vault unexpectedly collapses, causing chaos and nearly ruining everything. But Lincoln and his crew manage to fight through the mess and escape with the money. At one point, the story flashes back to an earlier time when Lincoln heads to Delray Hollow, a tough neighborhood where the Haitian mob struggles under internal conflict. Baca, the underboss of the Haitian mob, is mistakenly identified by Sammy Robinson as the gang's leader, but he's actually a minor antagonist within the Haitian group. Lincoln confronts and defeats Baca and soon after meets Cassandra, the true leader of the Haitian mob, and a strong-willed figure fighting to protect her community. At first, Lincoln and Cassandra are cautious and don't fully trust each other. Then everything changes. Sal Marcano betrays the Black Mob in a brutal attack that kills Ellis, Danny, and Sammy, Lincoln's father figure, and shatters their organization. Lincoln is badly wounded and left for dead, but survives thanks thanks to allies like Father James, a local priest, and John Donovan, a CIA contact from back in Vietnam. Fueled by grief and revenge, Lincoln reconnects with Cassandra. Together, they decide to join forces to fight back against Sal Marcano and his criminal empire. They work to weaken the Dixie Mafia's grip on Del Rey Hollow by targeting their operation. So, in order to take over Rackets, we needed to cause as much damage to them as possible, which would allow us to kill or flip the Racket boss. And after meeting the damage threshold, here is when the run began. And I recommend that if you attempt to go for these trophies, save and upload to the cloud before you eliminate the first mandatory Racket boss, so that you can skip the long beginning prologue part for your second run, as the stats don't track until you kill the first Racket boss. I got this idea from Amurinen100, who created this guide, which lists the best methods to get all of the glitch trophies. I'll leave a link to the guide in the description if you want to check it out. And after getting past the enemies in the club, I took down Merle Jackson and killed my first of 18 Racket bosses. That's one. Oh, and here is where I experienced another annoying glitch. A lot of the times after securing Rackets, the game will have a cutscene and the camera will end up getting stuck. However, while you can still move around, you can't do much else. If this happens, just reset the checkpoint and this won't affect the stat counter. Next, I went after the heroin Rackets in Del Rey Hollow, and before beginning this section, I was given a tutorial on how to wiretap Rackets, which would be necessary in my second run, but we'll get to that later. Nonetheless, like the first Racket, I caused enough damage to get the Racket boss out of hiding, and after stealthily infiltrating the church, I took out my second Racket boss. We have to kill. I'm killing all of them first.
Rest in peace, asshole.
Alright, that's another one down. After this, it was time for the first real story mission after the prologue, as the damage we caused to the two Rackets in the hollow forced the Dixie Mafia's leader, Richie Duche, one of Sammy's killers, into hiding. Lincoln makes his way to an abandoned amusement park and takes down Richie, helping Cassandra reclaim control of her neighborhood. This marks the first step in Lincoln's quest to dismantle Sal Marcano's empire and get revenge for Sammy's death. After this, we meet up with Donovan, who gives me the information to two other contacts that can help us take down Sal. One, a familiar face, Vito Scaletta, and the other, Thomas Burke, leader of the Irish mob who I mentioned earlier. And according to the guide I mentioned just a few minutes ago, a user named player_OFC came up with a roadmap for how the rest of the game should be played in order to ensure maximum efficiency in terms of getting the two trophies and preventing crashes. He mentioned that the following districts should be done in this order: Del Rey Hollow, River Row, Point Verdun, Barclay Mills, Downtown, Tikva Harbor, South Downs, French Ward, and Frisco Fields, and that all Rackets should be overtaken before playing the required story missions for each district. So I followed player OFC's advice and next headed to River Row to meet up with Vito. However, it turns out that Sal was trying to whack him, so after taking out Sal's men at the docks, I found Vito in a freezer room. Vito!
Looks like I got here just in time, Vito.
Oh, does he have the, he has the jacket on too? That's Aura. He's the GOAT. After saving Vito and telling him the plans to take down Marcano, he sent me out to take over the contraband and union extortion Rackets in River Row, and again, after damaging both Rackets, I took down the next two Racket bosses. Another Racket down. Alright, that's two Rackets now for River Row, I believe. As I mentioned before, I did not immediately begin Vito's story mission, but instead went to Point Verdun to meet up with Burke, and Burke seemed to still be mourning the death of his son and was not easily convinced to join the squad. But after recklessly driving around the area, he decided that it was in his best interest to join up with Lincoln. Next, I went out to take over the Moonshine and Protection Rackets, and again, after causing damage, I took out the next two bosses. There we go. That's 5 now? There we go. Next, I returned to River Row to begin Vito's story mission. After the events of Mafia II, Vito was forced out of Empire Bay by rival families and sent to New Bordeaux, where he was promised a fresh start by Sal Marcano, but the promise turned out to be a lie. Sal had no intention of giving Vito any real power, and instead he shoved Vito into the city's River Row district, a place meant to keep him out of the way. Worse, Sal gave Michael Greco, one of his personal enforcers, direct orders to keep Vito under control and quietly squeeze him out. Greco didn't waste time making Vito's life hell. He cuts into Vito's business, skimmed from his Rackets, and threatened him with blatant disrespect. Even worse, Greco was skimming money off of Vito's books and sending it straight to Sal behind his back. Vito saw the betrayal coming, but he couldn't move against Greco, not without risking everything. This is until Lincoln Clay stepped in, and now it was time to kill Greco for good. As Vito begins to regain control over the district and his own power, Greco is forced into hiding, retreating to a local cannery where he thinks he'll be safe. But he's not. Lincoln tracks Greco down and finishes the job, removing one of Sal Marcano's key enforcers and helping Vito finally reclaim what was stolen from him.
Please! I didn't do nothing!
Didn't do nothing. You were getting ready to fucking kill me.
I was just doing what Uncle Sal told me to do.
What are you gonna do with him?
Fish gotta eat like everyone else.
Next, I headed back up to Point Verdun to begin Burke's story mission. After stirring up some trouble in the area, Sal's enforcer Roman the Butcher Barbieri, who ran Point Verdun, was now looking for whoever was messing with his businesses. So Burke and his daughter Nikki come up with a plan to ambush him, and after taking out the first few waves of his men, the Butcher arrives, and it turns out that the Butcher was actually Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz. He's never gonna fucking forget. Bring him back fucking alive, that cocksucker.
After killing the Butcher, the mission ended and I called a sit down with my 3 new partners, and after a short cutscene where we came up with a plan to kill Sal and his family, it was now time to begin the biggest stretch of this run. See, the first 3 districts acted as a tutorial, and there were now 3 brand new districts that were up for the taking, and I could decide who I gave them to. And according to the guide I was following, I first started with the Barclay Mills district. Here I needed to take over garbage and gun rackets, and like usual I went ahead and caused enough damage to get the bosses out of hiding and took them out for good.
Alright. Check off another on the list. Another one down. That's another area of the map too.
Next, it was time to work on the downtown district, and this was a pretty cool area in the map and probably my favorite to explore. The rackets were also pretty interesting to take over, those being blackmail and construction. I even destroyed a huge crane.
Whoa. How sick is that? That's when the game just crashes.
This obviously did a lot of damage to the construction racket, and it was now time to take over the 9th racket boss.
Another one down.
Worried about the wrong man, Jimmy.
After this, I worked on some blackmail, which got a bit freaky, and after causing a bunch of damage to the racket, I took out the next boss.
Oh, look at this mustache. Your dad, buddy. Another one. Checked off the list.
Next, I moved on to the Tikvar Harbor district. This was pretty similar to River Row, but instead of contraband and union extortion rackets, I needed to take over auto theft and smuggling rackets, and after causing damage to both of these for the next 45 minutes, it was time to kill the next 2 bosses.
Alright, yet another one down. I think we have 7 more, maybe? Goodbye, buddy. I think that makes it 6 left now. Please don't crash. Bye.
Now that the 3 districts were mine, I now needed to complete the story mission that was available following their takeover. So I headed back to Barclay Mills to start the mission called A Little Late for That. After taking control of Barclay Mills, Lincoln contacts Enzo Conti, the longtime lieutenant running the district for Sal Marcano. Enzo used to be part of the Carlo crime family, but had been working under Marcano for years. Lincoln warns him that Barclay Mills is gone, and Sal will likely have him buried next to Michael Greco for losing it. But Lincoln offers a deal. Help him uncover who's behind Marcano's new casino project, and he'll keep Enzo alive. They agree to meet at the Chitimacha Hill Quarry. When Lincoln arrives, Enzo recognizes him, Sammy Robbins' foster son who went off to Vietnam. Turns out Enzo and Sammy were old friends. He gives Lincoln his condolences and shares the truth. The casino is Sal's way of going legit and cutting out everyone who's ever worked for him. And as Lincoln was about to leave, a group of Marcano men show up. When they've taken care of them, Enzo decides he wants to rig the quarry with explosives, as he doesn't want to leave anything useful behind for Marcano. So in between dealing with Marcano's men, Lincoln plants explosives around the place and they destroy it as they leave. Once they've dealt with everything there, Lincoln drops Enzo off at the Carousel Hotel in Delray Hollow. Next, it was time for downtown story mission called Everyone Will Notice. And here we needed to take out Tony DeRazio, the Marcano lieutenant running the downtown district. However, this would be easier said than done, as he rarely left his penthouse atop of the Royal Hotel. So Lincoln had to act as a one-man army and fight his way to DeRazio, and this was by far one of my favorite missions in the game, as it was constant chaos, and it actually reminded me a lot of the mission called Room Service from Mafia 2. This mission was so chaotic and wild that when Lincoln finally gets to DeRazio, DeRazio takes out an RPG and fires it at Lincoln, but that obviously didn't scare off Lincoln, and we took out DeRazio for good.
And he has like a submachine gun in his hands when he just shot me with a rocket launcher.
Go ahead, kill me. I'll be replaced tomorrow. No one will even notice.
You're wrong. Everyone will notice.
That's such a cool cutscene. That's one of my favorites in the game.
Now I needed to escape the police, which was a bit tricky, but after losing them, the mission ended and it was time for the next story mission in Tikvar Harbor. This mission actually had two parts. The first, a setup, which after planning a bug on Frank Pagani's car, would allow us to find his location and further hurt Marcano's operation. Pagani runs Marcano's primary import/export operation, so this would be a big loss. And now that we bugged his car, we knew his exact location. And after tracking the frequency of the bug, I found him in a car shop and killed him before he could get away. Now it was time for the home stretch, as only 3 districts and 6 bosses remained. The next being South Downs, which again was kind of similar to the other port districts I took over earlier. Here I needed to cause damage to the black market and gambling rackets, and after causing havoc across the district, I took out the next 2 bosses.
You're dead. This will make it 5 more after this. I'm getting scared. I'm 9 hours and 30 minutes in. If it crashes, I'm crying. 4 more.
Next, I moved on to the French ward and its sex and drug rackets, and I should say that Amarin100 and his guide mentioned that the game seems to crash a lot during this portion of the run if you leave it for later on in the game, and I will attest to this, as when I attempted to get these trophies back in 2022, this was the exact point in which my game crashed. So it may be best to complete downtown and then the French ward districts as soon as possible. So I was 10 hours deep into this run, and knowing that this is where the game crashed for me last time, I was starting to get a little bit nervous.
This next racket, or this next district, is the one in which it crashed, so I can't get excited. Literally 4 racket bosses left. Ah! Scared. Please don't crash. I can't even, like, play the game. I'm so scared. I'm not even getting in that car. I think this is exactly where it crashed last time I played. Oh my god. Please. I'm so scared, bro. I'm like close to throwing up here. God, I'm nervous, bro.
However, to my surprise, while causing damage to the 2 rackets and eventually getting to the point where I needed to kill the 2 bosses, I had not experienced a crash. So now it was time to put the finishing touches on the French ward district.
Alright, this is number 4 of the remaining ones. Again, please don't crash. I just need to get out of this district, bro. This is where it crashes. 3 more, please. It'd be worse if it crashes than getting all the way there and not getting the trophy, in my opinion.
I don't want no trouble.
Trouble? Ain't no trouble here.
Oh my god, there's 2 more left. I almost can't play, bro. I'm so nervous it's gonna crash.
Now only 1 district remained, Frisco Fields, and here I was feeling confident as I just got past the most crash-ridden section and could see the finish line as only 2 bosses were left to kill. I first started with the Southern Union, and most of the details in this racket would not be community guideline friendly, so I'll just say that this was one of the 2 bosses the game ensured you killed.
Second to last one right here. Bro, I'm stressed.
Now only 1 racket remained, PCP, and this one was similar to the garbage racket from Barclay Mills, and after going around the district and causing damage, it was time to kill the 18th and final boss in the No Loose Ends run.
Is this it? Is this it? All I have to do is kill him. Please pop. It did not crash once. Will it pop? Yes! No loose ends. Oh my god. After 11 hours and 8 minutes of continuous playing, I got a trophy that is incredibly bugged, a trophy that I've tried to go for many times that has, crashed on my way of attempting to achieve this. I have gotten it.
After 11 straight hours of playing Mafia 3, the game didn't crash and I experienced minimal bugs, so getting this trophy, to my surprise, was relatively easy. However, I knew I couldn't celebrate yet, as I needed to do all of this yet again. Only this time, I needed to flip 16 racket bosses rather than killing them, and like I said, the game forces you to kill 2 of the 16, which in theory means this run should end a bit sooner. So after restarting the game and killing the first racket boss for Cassandra, my second run began. And remember how earlier I mentioned how on the second racket the game introduces you to wiretapping rackets? Well, this would be important, as in order to be given the option to flip a racket boss, you needed to wiretap their stronghold, and in order to do that you needed to find 45 trip bugs around the map. So while playing through my second run, I made sure to look out for the bugs scattered around the map and also ensure that I actually wiretapped the boss's stronghold before confronting them. So after flipping the first boss in the church, I now needed to do the exact same thing to the remaining 15, and again I followed the exact same strategy I used in my first first run. So for the next 8 hours, I began flipping racket bosses.
All right, could be another one. Gotta recruit them. Recruit. One district down. All right, another one down. Hopefully, if I successfully rig this. Recruit. All right, here we go. The mustache man. Recruit. Another district done. Let's get another one. Recruit. Add to racket. Break his arm. My god. Recruit another one. That makes it 4 left. Oh my god, I'm getting nervous again. All right. Last one in this district.
Once getting to the French ward, I again got nervous, but once again, the game ran perfectly fine, and I was somehow able to get past this district unscathed.
All right, next one. 3 more after, or 2 more. All right. This is the second to last one I need. Only 1 more after this. Recruit.
Since Frisco Fields had one boss that needed to be killed, I just skipped him and went on to the PCP racket, and after causing damage, I confronted him once and for all.
Is this it? After I flip them, let me just make sure. I did everything that it's needed. Is this it? Is this the platinum? All I have to do is recruit him. Is this it?
I'll cook for you.
Welcome to the
Thank you. The new boss. And let the good times roll. The Mafia III Platinum.
After 8 years and nearly 200 hours, I finally earned the Mafia III Platinum trophy, one I honestly thought was nearly impossible. Now, I'm not going to go into how the game ends, and I'll leave that for you if you haven't played it yet, but I'm not going to lie to you guys, I fully expected this video to be painful, packed with bugs, glitches, and crashes, but weirdly, there were none, and honestly, I was low-key hoping for a few crashes just to make this video a little bit more entertaining. Still, if nothing else, this video can serve as a bit of a guide, especially if you are struggling to earn some of these trophies. Mafia 3 isn't my favorite game in the series, not by a long shot, but I still found it a lot of fun and probably the easiest one in the series to go back and replay. In my opinion, it doesn't really feel like a mobster game the way Mafia 1 and 2 did, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game either. That said, my experience playing this game, full of bugs and glitches, definitely left a bad taste in my mouth, and I know a lot of people feel the same. So yeah, this was a bit of a different video for me, but I wanted to share my experience chasing down those final 2 awful trophies in a game that's had a pretty rough history. But I'm glad I finally got the 3rd platinum and 100% in the Mafia franchise just in time before Mafia the Old Country releases, and of course that means I've got 1 more Mafia platinum to chase. So I'll see you all again after that one has been completed, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.